Hi, welcome to how to read values from your spreadsheet using the API Spreadsheets API. Here I have a Google Sheet, Oscar nominated movies that I have connected. It has 3 columns, year, film, and name, and we're going to be reading values from this spreadsheet. To do that, you come to your quick start code, click on read, and copy your API URL. Now we're going to make a GET request. And once it executes, you will see you get a 200 response code. That means everything was successful. You also get a JSON object with the key of data and a value that's an array. The length of this array is the same as the number of rows in your spreadsheet. Each element in the array is a JSON object that corresponds to rows in the file. In the JSON object, the keys are the column names and the values are the values in the cells of the spreadsheet. Here we can see that all the values and the rows have been properly obtained. The cool thing about Google Sheets and API Spreadsheets is that if you enter a new value, let's say I'm adding the latest Oscar winner, Nomadland, and I make the GET request, you can see that this value has been added. Oops, looks like I didn't finish this. Let me do that one more time. And here, now it's been properly added. This is one of the 3 data formats that you can read your data in. This is the row data format. If you want to read another data format, you can select that. And you see making your changes here will automatically update the API URL to its proper formatting. If we read this, we can see that now it's still a JSON object with the keys being the column names, year, film, and 1. And the values being the array where each element is the value from that row of the file. Finally, the last is matrix, and matrix will give me a 2D array where each element is also an array of the row value. In this case, we do not get the column name. Another cool feature is the querying feature. Let's go back to our row data and we'll see how the querying feature works. Let's say I want to get only the Oscar winners, which means I want to get the values where 1 is equal to y. I can add a query parameter at the end of my API URL, such as this. Here, I'm going to add a query, and my value will be the query. The query is like a SQL query. Select star from the file ID where something equals something. In this case, 1 equals to yes or y. And this will give me all the rows where the film has 1. Look at that. Let's say I just wanted the name, the film in this case. Well, in this case, I can select just the film column. And this will give me just the films. Pretty cool. Another parameter that you can add is the count. Count will give me the number of rows that are returned from a particular API URL. In this case, since I'm using a query and a count, this will return number of rows that match this query. So in order to do count, all we need to do is include the count parameter. And this will give me the number that match. And so far, 11. If I remove the query and just left the count parameter, this will give me the count of the entire spreadsheet, 89 rows. Just like that, we have another parameter, limit. Limit gives me the first n number of rows. Let's say I wanted the first 10 rows. Well, what I can do is I can add limit equals 10 here, and this will give me the first 10 rows. Cool. Now, let's look at if our API was private. If our API is private, then it needs to include access key and the secret key parameter. Again, making it private automatically will add it into your API URL here. Simply need to copy paste the parameter and make the call. If you're adding queries and limits and other parameters, they simply get added on to this URL. Now, let's say our API is private. However, we fail to include the access key and the secret key. If this is the case, we will get an error. So far, we have been getting a 200 response code. In this case, we get a 401 unauthorized. Your keys were not valid to access this file. Let's look at a few more response codes that might happen if there is an error. You can block requests on your API. So for example, let's say you block a read request. Let's go back to our quick start code, get our proper API URL, make a call. Sorry, it looks like the read didn't go through. Here, I'm going to block. Cool. Now it's actually blocked. Let's go back, make a request, and we get a 405 method not allowed. Get method is not allowed on your API due to customer request. Let's look at another error that might happen. If your file ID is wrong and you make the call, you get a 404 error. The file does not exist. These are the most common errors and the most common ways to interact with the API. We use Google Sheets, but the same works for any other kind of spreadsheet. You can read more about the different spreadsheet types here and in depth on how to read rows from the API Spreadsheets API and the different response codes that you'll get. Thank you so much for watching and enjoy building with API Spreadsheets.